All right, all right, all right. Welcome to the show tonight here. It's draft night, Craig. Who's got
Oh, baby. We got
right
a mock draft. No,
right
just kidding.
right down the street from me right now? I might go over to my buddy's there. They got the whole thing at the Bellagio set up. It's really cool looking, but
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Cali instead. So we'll see what happens here. What are we talking about tonight? Hey, we had a great successful sales boot camp. Had about 20 advisors, which we wanted to cap it at in Vegas here, Red Rock Casino. Beautiful, good time. And we walked through really, I mean, it was talking about what else do we talk about? Sales and marketing, just going into a deeper dive of essentially laying out a process, walking through it, a little bit of reminder. They say salespeople need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. What do you think about that, Craig?
No about it, doubt it. Yeah. No question. I mean, well, assuming you've read any sales books or had any sales training, which frankly, most people haven't. That's the sad part of this industry is, the people get in it and they think they need all this product knowledge. And that's, I think, why we do so well with the youngsters, right? The young bucks, the Luke Skywalkers of the world, because, we can capture them before they get tainted with all this bad industry, you know, uh, rules. Because what do we say? There are no rules. And you need a lot less technical knowledge and a lot more sales and marketing knowledge, right?
Yeah, if you can sell better. Yeah, I mean, it's just twofold, really, guys. If you look at it, it- it's not that hard. If you can get in front of generate leads to get in front of prospects. And we're always talking cold calls. If you get anything other than that, good for you. That's not most of the audience. But if you can get in front of people and then you could just gradually get better at closing, then you're going to have a lot of success. And we're not talking about, look, you go see 100 people, people are going to hate their broker, as we like to call it. They're not going to like their wife. So they're going to get divorced and they're going to marry you. But the majority won't. And so they're looking to date you for a while before they get married to you. And then you can convince them and convert them later once they know, like, and trust you. But yeah, let's see here. We had, um, what's up, Mike from Mile High? If you're watching it on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, let us know where you're calling in from. All right. Um, so yeah, what do we want to go over today, Craig? Do we want to cover a little bit of the boot camp, what we talked about, and just refresh them? What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Tell me where you want to go. I mean, at the end of the day,
Started, we started out real briefly, guys. It's like, let's figure out how to get good at the first meeting. Everything is in the first meeting. That's the start of it. And most people are going in with kind of blind and going in. And I used to watch an old advisor and I never understood it. Just go in, legal pad, pen, and go, hey, how you doing? What do you got? And start asking questions. And it just,
yeah.
it's they're not going in to see a doctor where they're just going to throw up and tell you everything that's wrong with them. It doesn't work that way. We don't have the leisure of a doctor as far as a doctor doing that. So, some of the things we talk about was how much stuff pre-meeting you could do. I mean, we covered that for a half hour of all the things that you could do prior to the meeting. And we talked about selling in advance. Instead of having to sell yourself in the meeting, there's stuff that you could do pre-meeting, like a shock and awe package, which most people didn't even understand, I
Never
guess,
heard of
never
before.
heard
Yeah.
of. And that can do all the selling for you, all the credibility for you. You can hold off on giving them your whole story and your why and all that. I personally, I don't know. I'm not a big why guy, this, that, and the other, depending on the buyer. Maybe if it's an HR person, but a CEO, I mean, it's kind of reminds me of LinkedIn right now these days. Heads Up Advisor, we got popular from LinkedIn doing self-funding 7 years ago. LinkedIn now is just a platform where people, I guess these LinkedIn influencers, Craigs, have told all these brokers that people want to hear your story and they want to hear about your personal side. Guys, you're
Yeah.
dealing with CEOs and CFOs. If you think that they're on LinkedIn wanting to hear about personal stories of a health insurance broker and that's going to make them do business with you, I mean, you've got, yeah, it doesn't work that way in our business. It may work for us, the brokers. Brokers want to be found. It's a different personality type. But guys, stop it. Nobody cares. They don't care about you. All they care about is how are you going to fix my problem? My tax strategist, when he called me, he didn't tell me his why on why he wants to help business over taxes. Nothing that. I said, look, here's my problem. Fix the problem. Can you fix it? Right. And so let's think about that a little bit when we're going to these meetings. Is they don't really care
Yeah.
about you
Think
necessarily.
about that 5-minute intro where you go, well, when I got out of college, I thought I wanted to do, then I didn't, and I backed into insurance. Nobody actually comes out of college and says, I want to go into insurance. Everybody sort of backpedals into insurance through some other job. And so you think about, far too many brokers don't think about being on the other side of this talk, going, so I'm sitting here for 5 minutes at least, waiting for you to get through to this story. I don't even know you. You haven't given me any reasons why I should care. And so, yeah, guys have to be careful about that.
How big our company is, how many years we've been in business.
Yeah, get to the point.
That's all shit that you could send in advance. If you really want to show that, you want to
Yeah.
play the size because you have the size, great. That's a play that you could do. Put it in a shock and awe package. I used to have a camera case. Wish I could find it. And basically, again, it was $100 each, but who cares? It's $100 prospect. You're going to see 50 people. If you go see 50 people a year, it's $5,000. Big deal. It's going to make a big difference. Basically, it had this book in it. It had magazine cover, but it had a tablet, an Amazon tablet that we hacked, and it would play my testimonial videos for my clients every time you swiped it. So again, tangible item that they're not going to throw away. Necessarily, I don't want to say it didn't have my logo on it because that's the giftology thing. I just got a gift from somebody, and they sent me a big plaque to say I was a producer for them with their logo on it. Why do I want to put that on my wall? Another story. But the point of it is, it's a tangible item. They're not going to throw it out. It's not a mug with my logo on it like they have a reason to keep it. But it's a tangible item that they're probably not going to throw away and give to their kids. But every time they turn it on, they're going to swipe it open. They're going to remember me. So just a little something that we put together. Craig, what's some shit you put in your chalk and all?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's a kind of a you're going granular. Let me take it out and go, macro picture. If you're an independent broker, consultant, advisor, and you're trying, or small company, trying to compete against a big regional or a big box chain store, national chain store, we've talked about this many times. You can't compete at their level. They will crush you. So you have to figure out ways to build your credibility and your authority without you having to go in and say all the things you've done, where you've been published, and how you did this. And no, you do that all in advance. So you create digital assets, you create social proof, you create things that when they do a Google search, you will own the first page of Google at least, based on who you are, what you've done, what you've written, where you've been interviewed, which radio shows you've been on, which podcasts you've been on, what television news interviews you've done, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not hard to do. And so now, before you ever show up, if you've delivered what John just referred to as a shock and awe package, you might have your article, your magazine, your book, your what do you call it, that Amazon Fire Stick or whatever that is, right, the little player, the little video player, and they open it up and go, hey, at the end your closes, and you keep this for your troubles, right? This is the completely usable. Give it to your kids, your grandkids. But in the meantime, you've made the point, right? The lifetime value of a customer. If you don't know what that means, go read a book. My God, right? So the lifetime value of a customer is $50,000. Wouldn't you spend $100 to get a $50,000 client? I hope you would. And so now you don't worry about investing, not spending, investing in your prospects. But in order to do it, you got to have good stuff. So you need to build social proof about why, when you open your mouth, they already perceive you as being better than average, dare I say, an expert. And that's part of the game for you as an independent, small firm competing against the big box guys and gals, because you don't have the brand, you don't have the name, you don't have the panache, you don't have the name recognition. So create it. It's very doable, right, John?
So simple, caveman can do it. Mike Smith out there in tennis in Jacksonville's got the #1 pick. I actually thought about you today or yesterday, Mike. was thinking about that group that we went in at, and I didn't realize that they had that area population, and we went with a regional and a direct contract. And if we would have went in with Cigna, I think we closed that account. But that's another story. I don't know if they're coming up for renewal. I can't remember the renewal date, but stay on them. He was a buyer. All right, contacts. If you're going into the meeting and you don't know, obviously you know who you're meeting with, but who signed the 5,500? Who's the owner? Who's the CFO?
Please don't show up and go, so what do you guys do here? Oh my God. You really, I mean, you should be flogged for doing stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
everything's
a joke.
available online now.
That's what that old advisor that I first shared an office space with used to do. So what do you guys do here?
Hey.
It's like, come on, how unprepared could you show that you are going into this meeting? I mean, it's really bad. You're spending, $700-800 at least per lead, in my opinion. Maybe it's $1,000 these days with inflation to get in front of these peoples, and you're not taking the time to do any research. You've got a team, you've got an account manager. Just give them a checklist. This is simple, guys, a checklist. Who are the contacts? They should have their LinkedIn profiles printed out, okay? So you can conversate or think of ideas or ways to position your value prop into their language and talk about things that they did in advance, any prior positions that they were in, where they lived, associations. Biggest thing too is news, right? Craig, we were talking about the other day is I remember 400 something life group when I was a really big group and I was nervous going in, and I looked up the news and they released some product. They made, I don't know, plastic product, released it.
Yeah.
They're opening up this division. I walked in and I mentioned it right when I was walking into the meeting with him because he met me at the door, and the guy went on for a half hour. He was so excited about it. And all I did was
what's everybody's favorite subject? Themselves, right? And if you're talking to an executive, their baby, this company, I mean, this is their baby. They're excited. I was on a call last week, John, with a nice national brand. I researched them because I have some unique databases. And I said, hey, I was reading about you guys prior to our call, and I saw that KKR and JP Morgan gave you $50 million for acquisitions. What can you tell me about that? And they were like, how'd you hear about that? It doesn't matter. Well, tell me about the acquisitions. What do you guys have planning? I mean, what's going to happen to your body count? And so, boom, we were started. That's the kind of conversation.
You didn't ask them about
gives you
what
an
do you think
advantage.
about their healthcare plan when you got in there?
Yeah. How much is the deductible? Come on.
What's your deductible? That being said, we'll cover that pre-meeting. Is I talked about maybe a questionnaire in advance. There's two ways to do it. You can send an email and go, so we can make this meeting more productive. Can you just fill in the blanks for a couple of these preliminary questions I have? The more data you have in advance, the more you can come up with a strategy and an angle to go in with. Don't go in with one angle, though. Don't always go in. Always have a backup plan.
Yeah, it can be a survey. Yeah, John. I mean, you saw my.
If you want to know, yeah.
Most
my opinion, some of the most important things are total enroll, total annual spend. You've got to look at. You can identify by per employee per year what type of employee you're dealing with, and really, if your story is self-funding, if it's too low, there's not much you're going to be able to do. So why waste your time? Maybe you go in because they hate their broker. Maybe you get it. But what are the odds of that? It's a lot lower. So go in there prepared. You at least have a story to sell and tell and have preliminary data that you can have a conversation about.
Yeah. I mean, simple things. Look, if you were going to send a survey in advance, you could ask them things like, hey, is healthcare at your organization considered an investment, or is it just it's a minimum must-have expense that we got to do, right? Or what's most important asset in your company? Is it your people? Is it your products? Is it your intellectual property? And you ask them questions like that, and you find out before you show up what their attitudes are about healthcare, what their attitudes are about their employees. And that is part of the, it's kind of a paint by numbers. You've got an empty canvas. And so before you show up, it's possible for you to, have some of the boxes painted in already. by just doing some research, or maybe sending him a survey and asking him to send it in advance of the meeting so you can be more productive, get more out of it in a shorter period of time. Or worst case, they fill it out and they hold it for you when you get there, and you've only got, you 5 or 10 or questions, and you can quickly scan this and go, okay, they said it's a minimum cost of doing business and products are their most important asset. Guess what? They probably have 80 to 90% single employees and 10 to 15, 20% with family, because they're cheap on healthcare, right? So all of a sudden you can tie all of this in really quickly, and you already know what their attitude is. And so you better not be talking to them about something that's inconsistent with what they already have shown you. Does that make sense,
Yeah.
John?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think
Simple.
any advantage you could have. Well, we'll keep going on this just because there's a lot to done. One trick that well, let me look something up here. I just want to try to find something. One trick that I heard a chiropractor do, which I thought was brilliant. You know, I don't, I don't like to call in advance to confirm the meeting because it gives them an out. But if they were far away, if it was a
Mm.
2-hour drive, I used to get, nervous. I'm like, maybe I need to confirm because I don't want to drive down there and just in case and confirm the address. So, this chiropractor called me the night before and I saw the call coming in and I knew they were calling to confirm. My back was killing me, so I was going either way. But what they said was, "Hey, John, hey, this is so and so from chiropractor. We just want to let you know we're real excited to see you tomorrow. See you at 2 p.m." And basically what they did was they're confirming my appointment, but they didn't say, "Hey," and give me an out. They just said, "Hey, we're excited to see you. See you at 2." Right? It was very if it's very smooth, and that's something you could do that you can transition to and say, "Bob, while I have you for a minute, can you mind if I ask you a couple quick questions and make our meeting more efficient?" And then you can have a pre-meeting on the phone for a few minutes
Yeah,
before you
no more
get
than
in.
three questions. That's it. Cut yourself
Yeah,
off. Yeah.
you can have a quick meeting. I really like to do that, and,
Yeah.
sometimes it may not be with the CFO, maybe with the HR person or something that can give you some inside information, but just another way to get some information before you go into the
Yeah.
meeting.
Hey, because I got friends in Montana, Kansas, Nebraska. My God, I mean, it's not uncommon to drive 1 to 4 hours to a meeting. So if you guys and gals are out there, you better confirm that appointment before you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just see here what else I got. Hey, we're gonna be having the webinar. Those that don't show sponsor Virtue Health, check us out. We're gonna have another webinar next Tuesday. We're gonna have the first week every Tuesday. So May 3rd, and we're gonna talk about it. Again, the dates on this might be wrong. I gotta update the image here, but why traditional stop loss fails small to
Mm.
mid-sized businesses. If you didn't see that webinar, you want to check it out. You need to understand the ins and out and the pitfalls of it and what you're going to run into. Most of you don't even understand minimum attachment point if you're not level funding. Might want to look that up.
I guarantee
Um,
you will learn at least 2 unique ways to talk about self-funding.
Oh, that's another way. That's another thing you'll learn on the thing. But, obviously the Virtue Health solution is built around providing small to mid-sized businesses the reinsurance component. Yes, a small component, but something that allows them to stay long-term and self-funding. If you don't insure the plan right, it's going to be a short-term play. Again, short-term solution, traditional stop loss for a long-term strategy. You're going to run into problems. The bad years are coming. I only see them more and more now. Paul Carroll's in here from Vegas. What's up, Paul? Free is tough to beat. I don't know where that was from. Yeah, free. So check us out on the webinar next week. Make sure you get registered. What else we got here? All right,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's
We
move
we
over to
talked about how to look and sound different than the incumbent, or what they're used to, right? The traditional brokerage approach. So what we're talking about is how to look different. Well, if you've created the shock and awe box and sent it to them in advance, I guarantee you, nobody's ever done that before in this industry. So that's a good way to start. John, it was
yeah.
super productive for you, right? Always works.
Oh yeah, it always works. I mean, it's a game changer. I mean, I'm not even gonna tell the story I always tell, but Yeah,
Yeah.
what I did from one meeting one year where he said, "Who the hell are you?" to the next meeting, meet me at the door and take me around the office was all because of the shock and awe package. State the lead or state the agenda, take the lead. What most of these guys want, and I think mistakes that I made in the beginning is we kind of go in and try to become you act as a supplicant and you're like, well, what do you want? How can I help you? Instead of coming in and stating the agenda and taking the lead. Great, Bob. Thanks for having us. Da, 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 da. Here's what we're going to be talking about. Is there anything on you here you see on this agenda? And again, quick, short agenda. Do you see anything on here that you don't want to talk about, that you want to skip over, that we could fast forward through, or that we're missing? Case in point, case that we were talking about earlier Mike in Jacksonville, I did that. The guy had a very fast personality like me, and he just wanted me to cut right through the point. So I cut most of the meeting out because he told me exactly what he wanted. Again, you're taking control of the meeting. You're showing them that you're leading. You're in control. As Oren Clef talks about frame control. If you haven't picked up the book, Oren Clef, what's the name of that book again? How to pitch anything. Pitch anything.
Yeah, or flip the script. Either one.
Yeah,
They're both
so
awesome.
I mean, simple agenda, right? Here's let me see if I can see some of the script here.
Now, keep in mind, when he's talking about taking control of the meeting, if your personality is such that makes you uncomfortable, I got to tell you got to learn how to be comfortable becoming uncomfortable, because once you get on the other side of it, it's not a big deal. This is just automatic tapes that play in your head that say, that makes me uncomfortable. I'm afraid. So therefore I'll procrastinate and I just won't do that. Okay. It's going to take you a lot of pitches to make sales. Okay. As you go upstream, right? If you deal with, mom and pop shops who love that personal story, that's great if you want to write a lot of 2 to 10 life groups, but that's a tough way to make a living. So when you go upstream, you need to have a more effective and efficient presentation that can explain what your value proposition is and the value to them in terms of results and outcomes that are measurable, predictable, and repeatable. Or you can just talk about what a great life you've had and all whatever else you say, but learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Take charge, right? Being a consultant doesn't mean that you throw up. I've seen 5 stacks of 4-inch, look at all the work we've done quotes, right? John, you ever seen that, broker? And then they go, so you guys look at it and then tell us what you want, and then we'll implement it.
Yeah, they want you to take control and authority. Here's a quick just script. Again, tweak it, work it to the way you want to work it. Let me walk you through our agenda very quickly to make sure things align with what your expectations are in today's meeting. First, we will start by asking you some discovery questions to learn more about your business and your business challenges related to managing risk, recruitment. Obviously, that's important these days. Retention, new talent acquisition, turnover, M&A, revenues, margins, profit, and overhead. Then if it sounds like I can help and we have experience solving your problem, I think we're a good fit, I'll explain what it is we do in a situation like yours. And at the end, you can make a decision whether you want to continue down the existing path of your current arrangement and its inevitable costs, or be part of our objective conflict-free consulting that will provide you an independent analysis of all your options. Does that sound good to you? Again, generic overview, but if you can work that and tweak that in a conversational manner, that's really what you're looking for. And then you wait for them and say it's okay to move forward before you start, hitting them up with questions. I think, yeah, we wrote this again, guys. Some of this stuff is from the top consultants in the world, top consulting program, Sam Ovens program. I mean, Alan Weiss's stuff, Craig's language, tweaking it for our industry. But again, this is not something that is just made up. This stuff works. It's human psychology. We say, Craig.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can just have a simple question like, hey, before we begin, I understand that you have competing demands. We have competing demands. You got priorities. Sometimes things happen. Before we begin, is your hair on fire today? Did you just put down your fireman's cap before we came into the meeting? Anything that keeps us from having our 30-minute scheduled meeting? Anybody can say that. You can ask that question. You go, great. Okay, so I've got your undivided attention for 30 minutes. Boom, go. Let's go. Simple.
Yeah, and you may, go this route or have to go this route. You gotta be a chameleon. Yes, you wanna,
You do.
Jordan Belfort talks about keeping them on the straight line. You wanna keep them on that line, but again, if they wanna go faster, or they wanna skip through to something, get through it
Yeah,
and go
we're
to
both
where
the same. If you want to go faster, oh, I'm all in. Please.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's taking the agenda, open talk. I mean, Craig, let me just pull up here. We had some questions. I don't know if you wanna fire off some of, just open diagnostic questions, or where are the ones that we had drafted? I'm looking for them. Bear with me. Yeah, I mean, just some
Oh, well, I
some
mean, you ask
open
them, how's
questions.
business? How are revenues? Are revenues, are you growing? Is it flat? Right? What's that mean for margins, right? They going up, they flat, they going down. Who's squeezing you on your supply chain? I mean, which of your vendors is really putting it to you? Great. Yeah. Well, healthcare is the same way. Healthcare really is very similar to your business. It has a supply chain, right? You got the hospitals and the surgeries and the pharmacies and the docs, and they're putting a squeeze to everybody every year. How's inflation affecting your business? The government published 8.5% inflation last week. Now, it's kind of laughable, right? Have you filled your gas tank with gas? Was it? Do you think it was only 8%? Oh, well, those inconvenient truths, they just leave that out of the calculation. The one that they used to do in the 70s and the 80s, and they just keep modifying it. So let's just call it 8.5. Okay, fine. But you know what's happened to healthcare for the last 3 decades? It goes up at 2 to 5 times the rate of published inflation. Now, I don't know about you, but the idea of 16 to 25% rate increases for the next 3 years, that would scare the hell out of me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
That's an easy conversation.
Yeah, look here, I'm gonna show you something. Here's a CFO, let's see what it was. CFO from Mercer survey, asking questions here. Let me just see here.
Are you concerned
There
about
was one.
inflation? Yes.
Yeah, it's reasons for remaining fully insured. 44% value predictability. Number one,
Predictable to go up every year. Wow, that's not risky to you?
yeah,
That's what I'd be good at. Let me comment on these, ridiculous assumptions.
yeah. Don't have enough staff and resources to manage self-insured plan. And again, these are big box change store sending a survey and sending, the stuff that they want them to answer with to keep them
Yes,
fully insured, right?
exactly. Right? I've told you the story. I'm in a municipality with 400,000 employees, and their national big box chain store has trained them to say the following answer: why aren't you self-insured with 400,000? Oh, that's too risky. I mean, I, it's,
400,
you should
400,000.
go to jail for being that bad at your job, really.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
they're
yeah,
trained.
those kind of, those surveys give you ammunition to have conversations, right? The savings isn't enough. Now, that's a
Yeah,
fascinating inquiry.
we gave that other one.
Jesus.
We gave that other one, and it was a download, a week or 2 ago on Heads of Advisor site with, that survey from the union. There's another one. The savings isn't enough. Again, savings isn't enough when? Probably for the year, but they're not selling long term because they come in every year, and this is what they
Yeah.
sell about. And that's
Well,
where you've gotta shift the conversation to long-term
yeah.
strategy. Are you
Well, it's
gonna be
part
in
of the
business?
scam. It's part of the scam, right? Well, CFO who answered that question, I'd be like, well, first, words are important. So I'd first need to know what do you mean by savings, right? Does that mean the amount of that your rate increase is below the peer benchmark? That's considered savings, right? So the peer benchmark 6.5, and your consultant's done an excellent job bringing it in at 3.5. So your savings are 3%. No, see, that's not really the definition of savings, right? That's a less bad rate increase, but on a $100 million budget, 3% increase, 3.5% means you lost $3.5 million. And you've done that for the last 4 years. $14 million. I mean, eventually this adds up to real money, right? How many FTEs is that? How much revenue does the company have to generate to net $14 million? On and on and on. What could the $14 million have been used for? Right? Have you cost shifted in the same 4 years that the consultant advisor did such a great job getting a savings versus the peer benchmark? Have you ever had to cost shift to your employees by increasing their premium contributions? Yeah. Well, did you look at was it actually that cost shift more than their pay increase? During COVID, did you get a pay increase? Skipped a year, had a year, you have 3.3%. Did you do the math? Are your employees actually working for less money than they were 4 years ago because of the cost shift? Because of the savings derived by your consultant who lost you less money than theoretically your peer benchmark? Now, these are interesting conversations to me, right? Because that's not savings. And if you're fully insured, you can't expect anything but that.
Hey, we're already 33 minutes in. We're not gonna give them everything from the boot camp here, but here's the one where, shout out to Clayton Wood who gave us this. So basically, how to weather the healthcare cost inflations and claims volatility, play both defense and offense. Now let's hear what their ideas are. Play defense, introduce or raise budget margins to prepare for greater claims volatility. This is their
Increase
strategy.
your budget, damn it.
Hey, raise your budget to pay more. That's the strategy. Start renewals earlier so there's enough time to understand and negotiate pricing components. What exactly are you negotiating? Are you negotiating the cost of the claim? If you start early, you're going to negotiate the cost of the claims next year? No. You're going to try to beat up the 10% fixed cost and get that number down because that's all they understand and know. It's comical, guys, but this is the competition that controls 80-90% of groups over 150 lives, right? Here's another one. Virtual services can improve access and save employees money by eliminating the cost of transportation, child care, and time off from work when seeking care.
Virtual care has been around for 13, 14 years. Where the hell have they been?
Yeah. Model the impact of rising cost on employees, both payroll contributions and out-of-pocket costs. In today's tight labor market, cost management must be balanced with attraction and retention goals. I mean, again, this is
their lips are moving, but they're not saying anything.
Refining in cost growth without shifting costs may require trade-offs, such as offering employees low-cost plans with smaller provider networks. Craig, you love that one.
Oh, the old high-performance network.
Well, offer them a lower-cost plan with smaller networks. So cut benefits and shift costs. This is their strategy. And this is your competition.
Thing for 15 years, right? Shift costs, reduce benefits, or limit access to care by giving them a narrower network. Same thing, same echo chamber, same circus, different clowns, 15 years.
Yeah. I missed the first one. Monitor medical and prescription drug costs versus budget more frequently. Yeah, I don't understand that necessarily, but no idea on how to actually get consulting advice on how to actually lower the cost of the claim, or the frequency and severity of claims, is like Craig likes to say. But I mean, guys, comical. There's some ideas. There's some thoughts in the first meeting. Some ideas how to have a conversation. We'll have to keep reminding you. Show sponsor, Virtue Health. Make sure you check us out. Register for the webinar. Let me drop it in the box here. Final thoughts, Craig.
Yeah. Hey, if you like tonight's talk with just 25 minutes extemporaneously, imagine a day and a half of this, hours of it, the amount of money you could make, the differentiation you could actually deliver, and find out if you qualify. We're going to have another one, aren't we? We're going to have another training session.
We're going to have one in Orange County, California. I think the next one may be in Orange County. We'll have one in Tennessee, one in Texas. You can go to them. Reach out to Crystal at virtuealliance.com. See if you qualify for the next boot camp. It's going to be fun. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Same place, same time. Heads Up Advisor. Hey, if you're listening on the podcast, check us out live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Be good, guys. Take care.